So James Doyle Fitness, everyone's favorite amateur porn star, decided to throw his weight behind anti-hate speech groups in Ireland, right? And I think that's funny because what these groups do is advocate for essentially to give the government more control over what is and isn't allowed to be said and what isn't considered hate speech. Who the fuck do we keep electing every single time? Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. Do you trust either of those with more laws on censorship and more rights and more control in that particular area, right? I don't see this actually being of benefit to marginalized groups. I see this only being of benefit to politicians and rich businessmen in this country, right? And I think it's particularly rich coming from Protein Bar Poppy, considering a couple of weeks ago he's like, why are we all cancelling Gareth Noon? All he did was say some hate speech. By the way, hate speech is bad. My theory is that, right, you've been on the internet for a couple of years, yeah, you have a few followers, you've gotten negative comments from people, and you think that's what hate speech is, you sap. To any of my fellow incels out there, balls deep into this season of Andor, right? My take is that it's no good, but I just found out that one of the characters is an Irish person, right? And guess which one it is? It's the one called Deirdre. Isn't that hilarious? How did I not put that together? They found an Irish actress and they're like, right, we're gonna call you Potato Famine McCarbon. I'm seeing a lot of discourse online about the protests that happened there on Saturday. And I think it's interesting the fact that we're all having these discussions in complete, like, sincerity with one another when the event was fucking hosted by Damo and Ivor. What the fuck? Like, can we just take it back to how hilarious that is? This is an inherently unserious situation. This is like if Jedward had a fucking rally. You know what I mean? We stopped taking Jedward seriously after about 15 minutes when they tried to get political, right? Because they're gobshites, even though I agree with everything they said, right? Why the fuck did we let Damo and Ivor get to the point where he's shutting down Dublin city centre for a lot of fucking troglodytes and Neanderthals to go drag their knuckles around? This is hopefully the most racist thing you're going to see on your For You page today, but it's all true, all of it, right? Israeli people smell like BO. I think it's because a lot of them are from Eastern European blood, so they're not used to being in a country as hot as Israel, which is in the Middle East. Whereas Palestinian people smell like lovely, delicious food. They always smell like they just got out of the kitchen and they were cooking, right? Maybe it could be like the hookah tobacco or whatever. That shit always smells really nice as well. But that's just some facts. That's just some facts on Friday for the boys. Hack for my hash kings out there, right? Nothing better than a bit of hash, yeah. I don't know. I find it more enjoyable than the weed. Weed is like vodka and hash is like beer, right? That'd be my own personal take on it, right? But there can be one issue with smoking hash regularly, and that is hot rock burns. A little bit of the hash falls out of your joint, lands onto your clothes, burns a little circle into it, looks minging, right? So my hood hack for how you get around that is every time you're smoking a hash joint, just run yourself a nice little bath and get in there and smoke it in there, because how are you gonna get hot rocked in the bath? What hack for the boys? Like, I personally have spent more time in Israel and Palestine than I would imagine the majority of people commentating on the issue online have, right? And that's why I personally find the Ethan Klein crash out to be really fucking disappointing. Because there was one point in his career where he was keeping it absolutely real, right? In the early days of the podcast, I remember him talking about the people of Israel, right? And talking about them as them being smelly, intolerant, homophobic, misogynistic, bigoted, etc., right? All of which are absolutely true. Whereas ever since the fucking Zionist 9/11 a couple of years ago, he's starting to just like chat absolute shit and spread a lot of propaganda that his wife just translated for him from the fucking Israeli news, right? Bullshit. Free Palestine. Send Ethan Klein more skeletons. I've always felt like what people refer to as the wind tax is actually just a skill issue, right? That's my opinion. I personally haven't had much issues with smoking a joint in the wind and the wind taxing too much of it out of my hand because, right, I don't hold it like a fucking slapper in The Great Gatsby. You're probably holding the shit like this, yeah, and the wind is getting directly at it. The way I hold it is like CJ from GTA San Andreas, right? I've got the hand in that position, the default Vice City San Andreas position, and the whole thing is like pretty much covered and no wind is getting at that shit. Hood hack for the boys, I guess. If you're bitching about the wind tax, you're a novice. I finally got into Reddit this year. Everyone kept saying I looked like a Reddit user for so long that I finally gave in, yeah. And now I enjoy it. I like it. It's a nice platform, right? There's one Reddit in particular called just Ireland, right? That's a sub Reddit group, whatever, on there. And there's a post that keeps coming up multiple times from different people at least once a week, right? And it's always, you know what? Going to the pub and having a pint by yourself isn't actually depressing and lonely at all, right? It's like all the comments, it's like 100 likes on it, 50 comments, people being like, yeah, I regularly do that, and I'm not an alcoholic or fucking miserable or depressed. This is a hashtag ad SPAWncon hood hack for the boys, right? So, you know the way if you're wearing a tracksuit, you're more likely to get stopped and searched by the guards, right? And that is doubly so if your tracksuit is fresh or like just brand new looking, right? So my hood hack would be, also an ad, check out the sponsored link in my bio, is get your tracksuits in Sports Direct, right? Not at all because of like they have great prices. Like if you're a stingy bastard, it's great to go to Sports Direct, but the reason why is after one singular wash in the washing machine on low heat, any clothes you get out of Sports Direct are going to be looking bally and dishevelled as fuck. And now Garda are just going to think you're homeless and tell you to move on rather than think you're selling drugs, right? Hood hack, Sports Direct, you up the butt. Right, at hood hack to make yourself look like less suspicious, make you look like more of an innocuous person, right? Just get a pair of glasses. People assume you're nerdy and geeky when you're wearing glasses, and don't assume you're fucking like taking drugs all day every day. Look, I don't even need these. These have been faked. I can't prove it, but I think that Mr. Sunday Movies from the Weekly Planet podcast and Caravan of Garbage, aka James Clement, I have a feeling that that guy is a plagiarist, right? The year that the 4 hour long H Bomber Guy video came out about YouTube plagiarism, James said something on their Christmas commentary about, oh no, what if I've ever done this by accident? And then he's like, oh, that's just my hand wave in case that ever turns out to be true, now that I've said that, right? I was like, that's a joke, whatever, it's in the zeitgeist, YouTube plagiarism, yeah. But then in this week's episode, right, James said something about how he used to make those 10 things missed videos about like trailers, and Mason said something like, yeah, you're gonna have to make that from, you're gonna have to find somebody else's 10 things missed and use that to make your 10 things missed. So I feel like Mason also predicted the divorce, the Mr. Sunday Movies divorce, like years ago. He's been saying that for a long time. So I don't know, maybe Mason knows, maybe that's why he doesn't want to give up his job in the tram, you know what I mean, because he knows that this is a house of cards. So I have the ultimate conspiracy theory, right? I've concocted it myself. It's the one to end all conspiracy theories, and I think it makes a lot of sense the more you think about it. What it is essentially is that every Jewish person you've ever met, seen, or heard of has been a psyop deep state crisis actor. Jewish people are not real. They are hired by the government in order to give people a scapegoat to blame all the world's ails on. I'm not sure to what end, but I think that's the that's the point. That's every conspiracy theory. It's just something stupid. It doesn't have an actual, you know what I mean, logic behind it. So yeah, spread that around. Unironically, I think that's true. The fact that the Irish tricolour flag is currently being co-opted by nationalists into becoming like a far-right dog whistle for your bio is very amusing to me. I think that's funny because the Irish tricolour was designed intentionally to represent unity, tolerance, acceptance of other people, right? The brief history behind that flag is that green represents Catholics, the white represents peace, orange represents Protestants, right? And now you have the most intolerant people ever running around waving that flag. I think let them have it. Let them have it. I was never a fan of that flag. It's very boring looking. I never consented to Eamon de Valera giving away those 6 counties to the British. I think we should still be bombing them to this day. So let the fucking nationalists and racists have that flag. We can go back to the plough and the stars, right? I'm showing my age here, right? Like and subscribe for more. This 100 men versus a gorilla in a fight conversation is ridiculous, right? Give me 10 good men and an 8 ball of cocaine and we'll fucking impregnate that gorilla for everyone talking about Thunderbolts as if it's like this is the return of the MCU. This is the best one in a decade. This is genuinely a good movie. Last time I saw anything in the MCU with Florence Pugh or David Harbour, I couldn't take it seriously and I thought it was hilarious. They're like, hello, I am a Russian person. I am from Moscow. So there's a local shop that I'm regularly in. Yeah, I'm in there buying beer and skins and munch on a daily basis. There's a fella behind the counter who's a little bit older than me, and someone seems to have made him aware of the fact that I'm famous on TikTok, right? But he doesn't seem actually familiar with any of the TikToks themselves, which makes me think that it's like one of the younger staff members told him about it, right? But that's not the point of the story. I'm not just bragging about being recognized. The thing that I think is hilarious is that he thinks my name is James. He's like, all right, James. How you getting on, James? It's not even close. That's not even near. There's nothing more frustrating to a hash smoker than when you get a bash that's really incredibly sticky, right? Because that can just make rolling a joint borderline impossible. It's sticking to your fingers when you're trying to drop it onto the skin. It's sticking to the tobacco when you try and lift your finger away from it. It's just a nightmare, right? So my hood hack hash hack for the boys would be throw that shit in the freezer, right? And leave it in there for like maybe an hour, and then take it out, and it's going to be brittle. It's going to be like ice. You can put it you can put it in a soft drink. Then it'd be tasty. I want to walk back my former statements about kneecap. Not even necessarily walk back, right? Because what I've been on record as saying about them since 2021, mind, when I discovered them before you, because I'm cooler than you and a hipster, right? The thing I keep saying about them is novelty act, right? That's from what I've gleaned of listening to one of their songs in 2021 and reviewing it, is that they are up the rabbits out, and that's all. They're single issue campaigners, right? And it's like it's what else have you got? That's kind of what has been my attitude towards kneecap. But the fact that now they're using their massive platform off the back of the Michael Fassbender documentary to now be like violently pro-Palestine, you know what I mean? And like instigating people to kill Tories and shit, I am just so impressed. It doesn't matter how much of a novelty act they are. It doesn't matter if they're a one-trick pony. They're using their 15 minutes of fame to try and further really fucking important and just causes, and they're doing it in a way that's pissing off the old school media, and they don't give a shit. It's deadly, right? I'm a kneecap stan now. Yeah, give me that. Get the mask off of that geography teacher. I want to see his beautiful face and give him a smooch.